You've heard the term money laundering. It sounds mysterious, like something you only see in mob movies or hear about in breaking news scandals. But in reality, money laundering is disturbingly common and shockingly methodical. It's not just a criminal trick, it's an industry. A global, high-level, fine-tuned system used by criminals, politicians, corporations, and sometimes even the banks themselves. And understanding how it works? That's not just useful, it's powerful. Today, we're going to break down every major tactic used to launder money, explain how they work, and why they're so hard to stop. Let's begin with the basics. Money laundering is a three-stage process: placement, layering, and integration. Each step has its own methods, its own risks, and its own techniques. The first stage, placement, is about getting dirty money into the financial system. Think of this as hiding the evidence. Criminals might have stacks of untraceable cash, drug money, bribes, stolen funds, and they need to get it into a legitimate-looking account. So how do they do it? One classic method is called smurfing, also known as structuring. This involves breaking large amounts of cash into smaller, less noticeable deposits. Instead of walking into a bank with $100,000 in a duffel bag, a smurf might deposit $9,500 at one branch, $9,700 at another, and so on, avoiding the $10,000 threshold that triggers automatic reporting to financial authorities. It's slow, tedious, but incredibly effective when done at scale. Now that the money is inside the system, it needs to be hidden. That brings us to the second stage, layering. This is the process of making the money trail as confusing and complicated as possible. The goal here is to move the money around so much that its illegal origin is nearly impossible to trace. Criminals do this by wiring funds across borders, transferring between dozens of shell companies, or mixing it with cryptocurrency transactions. Layering is also where trade-based money laundering comes into play. This method involves manipulating invoices in international trade. A company might export goods at twice their actual value, or import them at a fraction of the cost, disguising the movement of money as legitimate business. One famous example of this was the use of fake gold trades to transfer value between countries under the radar. Still within layering, let's talk about cash-intensive businesses. These are real businesses, laundromats, gas stations, restaurants, casinos, that deal primarily in cash. They're perfect for laundering because they allow dirty money to be mixed in with legitimate earnings. A pizza shop might report $1,500 in daily cash sales, even though only $700 actually came from customers. The rest? Laundered. It looks normal to the taxman, but in reality, it's crime money disguised as pepperoni pizza. And now we reach integration, the final phase. This is where the laundered money is reintroduced into the economy, appearing clean and usable. Integration can take many forms, but real estate is a favorite. Criminals buy houses, apartments, office buildings, often in cash or through anonymous corporations. They then rent them out, sell them later, or hold them as investments. Because property prices fluctuate and transactions involve multiple intermediaries, it becomes very difficult to prove criminal involvement. Another method of integration is luxury asset laundering, buying things like art, rare watches, exotic cars, or even yachts. These high-value items can be purchased with laundered funds, held for a while, then sold. The money from the sale is now clean, or at least appears to be, and if questioned, "Oh, that's just an investment I made years ago." Now, let's move into more sophisticated methods. The black market peso exchange is a tactic used predominantly in Latin America. Here's how it works. A cartel in Colombia sells drugs in the United States, accumulating millions in US dollars. Instead of trying to smuggle the cash back, they sell it to a peso broker, who finds Colombian businesses that need to pay for goods in the United States. The broker uses the dirty US dollars to pay for those goods, which are shipped to Colombia and sold. The cartel gets their money in pesos, and it never touches a bank. It's completely outside the traditional financial system, and honestly, nearly impossible to trace. Shell companies are another staple of laundering. These are businesses that exist only on paper. No employees, no office, no products. But they can hold bank accounts, sign contracts, and wire millions across borders. Criminals create webs of these companies across multiple jurisdictions, each one transferring money to the next, creating a complex network that conceals the original source of the funds. What about the banks? You'd think they'd be the first line of defense, but that's not always the case. In some of the most notorious cases, banks themselves have been complicit. Either they look the other way, fail to report suspicious transactions, or in some cases, actively help hide the money. Bank complicity isn't just a mistake, it's actually a strategy. It happens when compliance officers are ignored, whistleblowers are silenced, and honestly, profit is prioritized over ethics. Then there are offshore accounts. Think Cayman Islands, Panama, Seychelles. These jurisdictions have tight banking secrecy laws and low regulation, making them, well, ideal for hiding money. You don't even need to fly there. Many offshore accounts can be opened online through legal intermediaries who specialize in anonymity. And let's not forget crypto laundering. With the rise of cryptocurrency, a new tool has emerged. Criminals use tumblers or mixers to combine their dirty crypto with thousands of other transactions, breaking the link to its origin. Or they use privacy coins like Monero, which are designed to be untraceable. Finally, there's a tactic that goes beyond financial gain: reputation laundering. This is when criminals use their laundered money to buy status, donating to charities, sponsoring public projects, or investing in public-facing businesses. It's not just about cleaning money, it's about cleaning their image. They go from suspect to philanthropist, from mobster to businessman. And in some cases, it works. So let's recap. Money laundering isn't just one tactic, it's, more like a toolbox. Smurfing, layering, cash-intensive businesses, trade-based fraud, real estate, luxury assets, black market exchanges, shell companies, complicit banks, offshore accounts, crypto, and even, reputation management. Each one is a thread in this global web designed to take dirty money and turn it into power, legitimacy, and freedom. The more you understand how that web works, the harder it becomes for it to remain hidden, and the more control you actually take back, not just as a citizen, but as someone who really knows how the system works. This is the Sovereign Doctrine, where we don't just talk about power, we reveal how it's used.